It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. You can also get more information on the Joe's Karting Parts and Tire store at joeskarting.com. For all the drivers and crews that are working on their cars past regular business hours, which I know many of you work 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 9 jobs, so you may have to get a little more creative with your businesses when you're looking for your parts for your car, when you're getting them ready for the race weekend. And Joe's Karting Parts store is just that place for you. 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. You can find more information online at joeskarting.com. Playing for today's show, real quick and simple show. We're going to recap the results at Talladega. Then we'll sit down with Phil Bremkin, a drag strip racer who's going to get involved with the Onawa Racing Complex. And by involved, I mean nothing official capacity, but he's going to help out any way he can. And he comes on, and we talked to him a couple of weeks ago at the O'Reilly Autoports Auto Show. He told us quite a few good stories about just wanting to help out. You know, this community is so full of people that just want to help. And Phil's no different, but he also was a racer, so he would mow, he would help do electrical work for Jim Howe when they were down at Mid-America Motorplex, which is now I-29 Dragway. Did so much to get involved with it, and now that the Onawa Racing Complex is up and running, or working on getting up and running, Phil's going to head over there, do a little bit of racing, and try to help out in any way he can. So we'll talk to Phil in turn number 2. Turn number 3, we will sit down with Tracy Weber to preview his 2018 season. I know, we're a couple of races in, but we sat down with him a few weeks before we sat down with Phil at the Precise Racing Products Open House and talked about his season. So we'll get you up to date on everything that's going on with the 24 of Tracy Weber, and you'll have to listen to that interview to find out why he switched to the number 24. Then at turn number 4, since we've got 2 races before our next show, we will preview today's race at Dover and next Saturday's race at Kansas Speedway, now the KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, at least they picked up a title sponsor this year. It would have been nice if the Speedway could have got a sponsor.
Yeah.
You know, Kansas City Masterpiece Speedway. But we'll settle for the race this time.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know we're going to be there. We've got some crew people that are going to be there.
Yeah, we've been working really hard with those guys over the last couple of days to get everything organized between Starcom Racing, Kansas Speedway, and our winners. And Karen and R.L. Smith, I don't know if he wants to be called R.L. or Robert, but either way, they're going to go down on Friday and do the whole experience. Unfortunately, you know, it was kind of outside of our control. Typically, when we do this stuff over at Iowa Speedway, it's a little bit more of a relaxed schedule because it's practice and qualifying one day, and then there's a little bit of work on the race day, but everything is piled into one day and in a really short window. They only have 2 practices at Kansas coming up next Saturday, or coming up this Saturday actually, and then they have qualifying after that. But anyways, yeah, our winners are going to be able to experience at least that, and judging by what Starcom has talked to me about, it's going to be a really, really cool experience.
Yep, and just this past week, we've been starting to try and put together the Iowa contest for July for the crewmen. So we're trying to get that set up so we can get started. It'll be probably, the Memorial Day weekend, maybe?
Yeah, I had it in my head
the weekend
one
after,
time,
first week of June, probably.
When it was all going to start, and now I've completely lost all that information.
Yeah, I don't remember if we're starting the 600 or the race after the 600.
Yeah, we'll have to get to it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be it'll be another 5-week contest, just same as this last one was.
Right.
And
by the way, we still have people emailing us about the Kansas Speedway contest, even though it's all wrapped up. They want to get involved in it, and if you want to be involved in it, it sounds like everything's going to be a go for the October race with Starcom Racing again. So we'll continue to work with those guys because they've taken great care of us. They've driven a lot of new people to the radio show, which is always great to have new people on board. So the October race at Kansas, we'll give it a 90% go, which, you know, if you give me 90% odds at a casino, I'll take it. But if you give me 90% odds with the weather, I'm still not taking it. So take it for what it's worth. All right, let's recap the race over at Talladega. Dirk, this is kind of starting to play out a little bit different than the, you know, I'm going to do this in air quotes, which everybody on the radio can obviously see. The experts have predicted. They predicted when stage racing entered the play at the plate racing at the super speedways that we were going to see hot and heavy action at the end of every stage. And no surprise whatsoever, we're starting to not see that because
you didn't watch Saturday's race. If you would have watched the Xfinity race, you would have seen hot and heavy racing I do believe there was some hot and heavy racing in the Cup race on Sunday, but as you saw at the end of the race, nobody could go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, they were trying some hot and heavy racing to try and get around there, but just nobody went anywhere. I mean, I was 200% sure that Harvick and Busch, with 2 laps to go, were going to start bouncing around, and it looked like Busch did because he passed Harvick, but, you know, they didn't go race. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
You know, I thought with those 2 cars together, even though it was a bunch of Fords lined up, I thought those 2 cars together would easily, one of them would get by Logano, but it's like Harvick didn't even try.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of these guys, I mean, we understand now after watching Truex last year dominate so much that stage points are incredibly critical, and it's better for you to give up a stage point or 2 and lock in at least 5, 6 stage points rather than try to jump out of line, mix it up, and try to go for the win. And, you know, I really do kind of worry. I'm a fan of the stage racing, but I think we're starting to see the teams figure it out to where now it's going to become a bad thing again.
Well, but I think part of it was that it was a restrictor plate track, too. Because last year you saw some demo derbying at the restrictor plates when you got down to the last 10 laps of the stages.
And did you notice that they shrunk the restrictor plates on Friday?
Oh, yeah, I read about that. I thought they were going to shrink them a little more. They said they were taking 11 to 14 horsepower away. I thought they'd take a little more. I mean, McMurray's car getting airborne at 203 miles an hour, you know, or that was the speeds they were going in practice, 203.9, so almost 204.
Yeah.
But when he got airborne for the action that was actually going on, that was really odd.
Yeah.
So, you know, slowing him down, they only slowed him down 2 miles an hour, so it wasn't that big a deal.
And,
but I thought they'd go further.
And NASCAR's got to stay on top of this. As the teams figure out how these cars work and they start to find those little nicks, and, you know, they talk about every year, we got to find a 10th. We got to find a 10th and a half. Well, that 10th and a half is another 1.5 miles to 2 miles an hour on the speedometer. And every once in a while, NASCAR is going to have to come in here and go, all right, you guys you've done what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to find speed in these cars, but now you've gone too far. Now we got to back it up a little bit. Super Speedway racing is exciting. And I just had this conversation with Joe Koziski the other day. Unfortunately, probably one of the biggest attractions to NASCAR and to auto racing is the wrecks.
The crash.
That's
correct.
Exciting. Because there's that, I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, there's that thrill of, oh my God, is somebody hurt? And then there's the relief when they're not, and there's the grief when they are. Those are just human emotions.
Well, everybody oogles and causes another wreck when they go from 60 miles an hour to 10 miles an hour so they can look at the wreck sitting on the side of the road on the interstate.
Right.
You know?
And by the way, if you think racing's the only one that does this, you're greatly mistaken, because they didn't put together highlight reels of big hits in the NFL for the love of it.
Yeah, who hasn't seen Joe Theismann 100 times?
They did that because people love to see these big impacts, those exciting hits, that crunch. Same thing with auto racing. And Talladega and Daytona, they're always going to be big sellers. It'll be interesting to see what happens today at Dover and next week at Kansas. And you know, we've got a big, long conversation we could get to in the offseason about the state of the racing and ways that it's getting better or ways that it's getting worse. But we'll circle back around to last Sunday at Talladega. Rough days for Kyle Larson, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski all finishing outside the top 30. Martin Truex Jr. finishing 26th. Our buddy Brandon Gaughan had a strong car for a long race, but unfortunately caught up in an accident. Finished 22nd. Ryan Blaney 18th. And then you've got most of you guys up in the top 15 that should be there. Your top 10 finishers, Daniel Suarez in that 10th spot. Ryan Newman in 9th. Alex Bowman in 8th. Eric Almirola 7th. David Reagan finished 6th. Wasn't he one guy we were talking about might be a good pick for the Speedway races?
Well, I mean, he's won a couple restrictor plate races. Never won anywhere else, but he's won 2 restrict plates, I think.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with a 5th place finish. Kevin Harvick 4th. Chase Elliott 3rd. Kurt Busch comes home runner-up. And Joey Logano, big win for him. First win since it was Richmond early last year, wasn't it? Or am I thinking of Darlington that he was penalized at and never
Richmond
was
last
able
year,
to?
I think.
Yeah, I thought it was Richmond.
Encumbered finish.
Right, and that whole organization was never able to recover in time to make the playoffs. So they had to sit out, and they started to show a little bit of light late last year. Last 3-4 races, you started to see some better finishes out of them, and they've been doing much better this year. So they've recovered since that penalty, and it's great to see him get the win. Finished 2nd in Stage 1, 2nd in Stage 2, ends up coming home with a win. 58 points on the day, led 70 laps. Good run for Joey Logano. I was glad to see him win. You know, I kind of worry about, I think that was the worst case of a team falling apart after a penalty that we've seen in a long time. And we've seen teams that have gotten penalties and they've taken a step back for a week or two, maybe 3 or 4, but they're able to recover. Kevin Harvick with that penalty, he recovered right away and won the next weekend. Chase Elliott's been penalized plenty of times this year. But Logano and that 22 team, when they got penalized, it really set them back.
Yep. And why they couldn't recover, I don't know. This week, though, when you look points that were passed out, you go from 58 points for the winner to 38 points for second place because he only got 3 stage points.
Right.
And he's one of those guys that he was right up there like in third place and got shuttled back because he went to make a move to try and win the stage and went back like an anchor and ended up, I think, like 12th in that first stage. He ended up about 8th, I think, the second stage. But that was my pick. I mean, I'd have been a little happier if he won.
Yeah.
But you had Chase Elliott in a Chevy who snuck around Harvick in the last quarter of a lap and, came in third place, which, why the Fords let him in there is, it just almost unfathomable. I just don't get it.
Am I seeing 3 Chevys in the top 10, 1 Toyota, the rest are Fords?
Yep, pretty much.
Ford,
Sounds
Ford,
about right.
Chevy, Ford, Chevy, Toyota. That's your top 10, right?
But it was a Speedway.
Yeah.
And that's where the Fords, since they haven't had a new front end, they've got, everything from the last several years going for them. So next year, when they switch over to Mustang, you'll see them struggle a little bit.
This is the same thing. This is what kills me about dirt track drivers, because now we're starting to see it in NASCAR too. Brad Keselowski complained last year that new Toyota body style had such a big advantage. Chevy gets their new body style this year, and so far we've seen them do nothing but go backwards as far as the way they finished 2017. Fords have the oldest body style on the circuit, and they're dominating, but now they're going to get a new body style next year. I give so much of these dirt track drivers a grief because I say every year it's the same thing with you guys. April, May, June, you struggle, you search, you struggle, you finally find it in July, August, September. You rack up the wins, you have a great time, and then you sell the dang thing. Why not stick with it when you found something with that car for a little bit longer and have a great next year, a full season of great? Well, we gotta, yeah.
No, it depends on how much they're racing. You've got some of the local racers, Jacob Brown being one that has started off hot and had a good year last year, but I don't think he's got a new car because he doesn't race the 60, 70 nights a week or a season that some of these guys do, 60 or 70 nights a week. That'd be awesome.
Wow.
But,
that's Anthony Ainsley's schedule, by the way. He's working 60, 70 races a week. Hey, we're going to take a break. We've got a little bit long in turn 1, so we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. Phil Bremkin, a drag strip driver in the area, is going to join us to talk about his time behind the wheel, helping the Mid-America Motorplex when him and Jim Howell were working it together, and then coming up to the Onawa Racing Complex.
And most of the drag racers people, I know most of our listeners are dirt track and stock car people. I do know we've got some drag race fans out there. But it's the same type of family. Your drag racers hang together just like your dirt track racers
Absolutely.
do. When something's got to get done, they'll pitch in, they'll help each other, they'll be over at the other guy's shop. They don't want to just, be able to win a race without having to beat the best.
Right.
So.
Turn number 3, we're going to sit down with Tracy Weber to talk about his drive in his new car this year. I think, did he take last year off, or did he race a very limited schedule?
No, he raced as much as he could afford to.
Yeah.
He's, with the classic low-budget racer. I race when I can, and, I race what I've got. And this year he's doing a whole different deal, and it's kind of neat.
Yep.
And we'll also have a 6-pack of fan appreciation night tickets to give away with a little Tracy trivia.
Let's give those away in turn 4. So I'll give you a hint. Listen very closely to what Tracy has to say in turn 3, and then we will ask a trivia. It's going to be a really easy trivia question if you pay attention during turn 3. Then, turn number 4, so we'll give away that 6-pack of tickets for Driver Appreciation Night at I-80 Speedway, courtesy of Tracy Weber, and we'll preview the race to come today at Dover and the race to come next weekend at Kansas Speedway. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 2 to talk to Phil Bremkin here on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
This week's young gun on the front stretch is Sport Compact driver Kasha Hall, who's about to start her 3rd season as a dirt track driver. For as long as she can remember, Kasha's been in love with dirt track racing. Whether she's in the grandstands with her friends and family or in the pits with her dad, she's loved every second of being at the racetrack. Kasha finally put the fire suit on and became a driver in 2016, where she won Most Popular Driver and finished 9th in the points at Eagle Raceway last season. While Kasha would love to finish in the top 5 this season, she's more focused on having fun and spending time with her father at the dirt track. Outside of racing, Kasha enjoys trap shooting while going to school at Lincoln Northeast High. Next time you're at Eagle Raceway, keep your eye out for the 92K, Richards Machine, Bob's Auto Body, Kozak Farms, Moonlight Ranch Sport Compact driven by Kasha Hall. Thanks to Craig Kelly of Sarah Kelly and Sewell Personal Injury Attorneys for his support of this week's Young Gun on the front stretch.
For almost 70 years, Sarah Kelly Sewell have been Nebraska's premier personal injury firm. Race drivers, fans, and their families have been calling Sunset Speedway's Craig Kelly for over 30 years. The IKS firm focuses first on your healing and appropriate medical care, then they focus on getting you great results. Craig Kelly and his experienced team at IKS stand ready to handle your injury claims in both Nebraska and Iowa. If you or a loved one have been injured, Google Craig Kelly or call him at 402-391-4000.
The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series, the world's fastest motorsport, is returning to Topeka.
339 miles an hour.
NHRA's best top-fueled dragster and funny car drivers are ready to face off at the Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, May 18th through 20th. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission, and every ticket's on Pit Pass. So bring the family, meet the drivers, and be part of the action. Get tickets early and save at NHRA.com or call 800-884-NHRA.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Turn 2 brought to you by the NHRA Heartland Nationals, presented by Minties. The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Series roars to life at Heartland Park, Topeka, May 18th, 19th, and 20th. 3 big days of all the drag strip action your race loving heart can handle is just a call or click away. NHRA.com/tickets or 800-884-NHRA. That's 800-884-NHRA. A few weeks back, our buddy Jim Howe from Tuffy's Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue hooked us up with a booth space at the O'Reilly Auto Parts Auto Show at the CenturyLink Center on March 17th, and we sat down with Phil Bremkin, a local drag racer, to talk about his career. Phil, thanks for joining us on the front stretch. How you doing today, sir?
Good, thank you.
Good to have you on. Appreciate you joining us. Talk to us a little bit about your career. You've got a little bit of time in the drag community.
I started when I was 19. Actually, I started when I was 9 years old with my dad. Hanging around the drag strips at Omaha Dragway. And then at 19, I had a dragster, C dragster, big block Chevy with fuel injected for a few years. And then kind of got out of it, pursued the family life.
Silly moves.
So you pursued the family life for a little while,
Yes,
and then
quite a while.
and then all of a sudden you decided, I think I'm ready to get crazy again.
Yeah, I hooked up with Roadkill in 2007. I hooked up with Jim Howell at the track.
Oh boy.
And it was downhill from there.
So at 19 you had what kind of a car again?
I started with an A stock 66 Chevelle, and then I graduated into a dragster and ran that for 3 years, and then I got out of that.
Okay.
A-Stock Chevelle, what would that have been, like a 396 type car? 375? Yep.
Car, yeah.
I was just turning to you to say, what did he tell me?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got the experience down that line that he don't have. I've done Super Street, and I did a motor for a guy that ran a K-Stock 68 Chevelle with I don't remember what it was, a 235 327 type car. So yeah, I know a little bit about that stuff. But that would have been Cornhusker then?
That was at Omaha Dragway.
Okay.
And then the dragster was at Cornhusker.
Okay.
And then we went down to Mid-America Motorplex with Jim.
Did you race for points competitively, or was it pretty much just to have a good time?
Just a good time. And now we're just bracket racing and having a great time. And we're kind of involved in Onawa up here now. So.
Okay.
Well, I noticed you skipped Scribner in there. Weren't doing it. Was that the family years?
My brother raced there, and my dad raced there in 85 and 86 at Scribner.
Yeah.
And we hung out there a little bit, but not a lot.
So then the family life ended up, and then the 2007, Jim wrangles you in to come help down at the Rolling Thunder drag strip.
Yeah, I went down to see Smiley Jazinka with this Corvette and a good friend of mine.
Yep.
Which is still racing today. And you go too many times, and you know what happens. You get hooked again. You're back at it.
Fun, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had a lot of racers over the years say, hey, you know what? I should have never came down here to watch racing.
Yeah.
Now I got to get a car.
It's as bad as crack.
Yeah, I've told, just like Dirk said, it's an addiction. It gets into your blood, it gets into your system. You just can't shake it.
And going down there to Mid-America, our group went from 3 to 12.
Yeah.
The best guys ever, too. The racers you want, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest percentage of them are all 65 and older.
Yeah, I
Just getting started.
Yeah, so we got some elderly guys involved again.
You know, my front stretch, what I call it, had a blank spot.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I had 12 of the nicest, some retired, some not, guys with nice engineered, painted. I mean, the guys that know what they're doing from the old school, and they're so polite.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having this. We don't care if you got a porta pot. We don't care about. We're here to race and have fun.
Yeah.
And man, it was a treat. And their cars are fast. I used to put Phil's car, Wild Chevelle, against this guy named Phil Shope, and he's out of by Des Moines.
Greenfield.
Yeah, Greenfield, Iowa. And he had a Corvair. You ready for this? He had a bus that matched the car, opened up the back and ramped it down the ramp. And when I was ready to sell hot dogs and pop, I'd say, who's going to win, the left lane or the right lane? Here we go. And I put them up against each other. They ran the same numbers. And I'll tell you, the crowd on a Friday night, $5, $10 a night, sell out of hot dogs, sell out of pop, on their toes. Yep. So these guys that came back from Cornhusker, the Flightland, Cornhusker, Scribner days, these guys that came back to participate, it was like a gift from heaven. I've been trying to shake those drag racers out of the bushes, and the Geezer Show helped do that as well.
Yep.
Well, is it Rolling Thunder that's got the show coming up here in May with some of the Street Outlaw folks coming on, Boosted GT?
You know, I believe it's an I-29 track. It was rebranded.
Oh, okay.
I was with them for 10 years, and I took off and went a different direction, and they rebranded. It's I-29, and it's called Raceway Park of the Midlands.
Yep.
And I do believe they got some prep stuff, and I do believe they got some celebrities coming.
Well, I was going to say, somebody's got a Boosted GT and Kayla coming up with her basically pro mod type Mustang. And
that's interesting that you segue. I'm going to segue into this. I was, without throwing names out there, there's interest with possibly Car Crap Magazine, Larry Larson, guys like that. There's the Street Outlaw show, which is beyond popular, which, makes us cringe because we're like, oh man, don't do it on the street. But if you watch the whole show and get it, you understand where they're steering things and making it. Okay, well, like some of the other guys with Reputable Magazine are like, hey, let's put us against them, type of stuff. There's just some banter out there. It's all banter, and that thing's really growing. Go to national tracks, and this guy is your fastest guy from Denver is going to race your fastest guy from Kansas City. So that thing's growing, and they're putting the safety back into it.
Good.
To me, it was a little sketchy at first, not the show and not those, but some of the people that are grassroots saying, hey, I could have too. No, don't go on the street. Please don't shoot your nitrous on the street.
Right.
But it's coming around. That's a really neat deal.
Good. Coming back to Phil, when you talked about Roadkill getting you involved in the dragway in 07, is that getting involved as a competitor or actually helping out with kind of running the track?
I started out as running my car, and then it led up to helping at the track.
What did you help out with? Kind of give us an insight on what you ended up doing.
Well, there's a lot of maintenance on the track, and we would do all the.
You know what? He's a humble guy, and I'm just going to tell it like this. Ready? A retired union electrician. I'm sorry if I don't. Hey, I love Brothers of Local 22. I'll give him a shout out right now. Some of the best people you ever meet.
Yeah.
Retired. Jimmy, I just love the place. I love what you do, and I love being here. Can I come down and help you a little bit? Guess what? Everything. He gave me advice. He can't wire, there's things that he can't. But he gave me advice, got me the speaker straightened out. Step one. You know how it is when you're at a track. You can't hear nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Next thing you know, Jimmy, you want me to mow? Jimmy, you want me to fix tractor?
Yeah.
Jimmy, you want me to help out? What are you doing? I'm telling you, anything from the gate to a building issue to helping me prep the track to just getting spectators in and putting the word out that it's not raining, it is raining. Phil Bremkin and a couple of other guys that hang out with Phil, it's unbelievable. I call him Uncle Phil because it was like I'd look over my shoulder on a Friday afternoon, and I'm like, how am I going to get this track open? You know the deal. You guys have been around it your whole life. And guess what? Here comes Uncle Phil right behind me. Jim, what do you need? What do you want?
Yeah. Those kinds of employees or just helpers are invaluable. There's a list of 5 big things you got to do, and those are doable. But then there's there's the small list of 500 things that need to get done in the next hour, and just having those guys that will just help out with that kind of stuff.
Well, I think you ought to let him be starter at least one week.
He's done it. He's flipped the switch. Hey, you know what? I borrowed $300 before to open the gate from him, okay? But here's what I want to tell you. We are still involved in the drag community, and we're very, the more tracks the merrier. Right now, we're working with Onawa a little bit, just trying to kind of help them out and give them some direction and put our money. We're trying to help.
Right.
And so we'll have a couple of drag strips local. We'll have, it keeps it going and builds more cars, more interest, more passion. Mm-hmm. And Phil and I, we had a good team going, a duo of sorts, and we thought we'd put our best foot forward. They asked us to help out on the board, and we went ahead and said yes.
It's got to be kind of fun experience for you, though, to be able to help out and keep this thing going, because it takes those humble people that are willing to do this stuff to keep this ball rolling.
In our little drag group, there's about 10 of us, and we all have cars. We're going to move this up to Onawa, and we're going to pursue helping them out.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to go in and paint the new building, the kitchen area, the bathrooms, and the arena, or the main area. So that's just some of the things we're doing. We're not getting paid. We're just going up there and we're helping out.
Onawa is really coming. It's really coming around. It's great. I'm going to tell you right now, they're building it the right way.
Good.
Okay, these racetracks.
The biggest thing he said that really resonated to me: debt-free.
Debt-free. Yeah, Phil told you debt-free.
Yeah, because that means there's not going to be a bank pushing them to do one thing or another. There's not going to be some crazy guy that has no idea what he's doing.
Right. You still got to answer to investors.
Exactly.
But,
right.
People don't invest in what they don't believe in.
Right.
Well, let me tell you, it's like $1,000 buy-in or something like that. Okay. As a racer, I'm a dirt bike racer on the side, but that's a separate thing. To go ride dirt bike venues, you guys, just to practice ride. There's 2 or 3 places where I go on the weekend. They're 200. They're 300. That's to ride a dirt bike 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to be part of building a racetrack for $1,000, who cares? It's $1,000. Yeah. In the big scheme of things, when you need $1,000, you need it. But if you have $1,000 to donate to something or to put towards something that's going to be an awesome place, that's the way to right there, Onawa, Iowa. It's perfect.
Phil, are you still running a little bit? Do you still drag, or are you mostly support?
Last year, I picked up a car out of Division II, an old 94 Beretta built in the 99. So I rebuilt it and put a different motor transmission in it, and I'll be up there at Onawa running from May on this year.
Yeah.
And their opening is in May, so I'll be up there running there.
Cool.
Can I toot his horn just one more time?
Absolutely.
Last year, he himself put together a car that ended up, it was Master Car Builder. He got, how many awards did he get last year? I know you're not this guy, but 5 awards at the World Wheels. He didn't put the car back in this year. He won it. He stepped off. He's let other people get a chance. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, can I ask you, I know you're a humble guy, but tell him the awards you won with that car last year and tell him what the car is.
We got Street Rodder, Nebraska's Best Street Rodder. We had the Builder's Choice Award. We had the Master Builder, but we had the Midwest Street Rod Award from the club and a couple cash awards. So, yeah we did very well with
now,
that car.
Is this Beretta then, is that in a super stock type class, or is that a comp eliminator type car?
Super gas.
It's super gas. Okay. This thing, and the super gassers from when you were racing to now, it's ridiculous, a mile an hour. And not only a mile an hour, the money in the motors and the thing, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, when I was doing it, they were just starting in with the stutter boxes where you'd see the guy leave the line hard and then almost come to a complete stop and then shoot down the track and have 30 mile an hour on the guy he was racing against, which I always thought was kind of dangerous. So I know they've outlawed some of that type of stuff, but it was real big in super comp back then. So
yeah, it's a super gas 94 Beretta, and it's got a delay box in it and stuff. So
what do you think it'll go in the 8th mile? Just speculation.
It'll run a 535.
535. Okay, so your license. You have to
how fast?
536 and an eighth.
Yeah.
about 136 miles an
And,
hour.
but that's about like a second under an index. Isn't an index about it's a low 6, isn't it, on a
In
super
the
gas
super
car for an
gas,
8?
yeah. It's
620 or something
well,
like
that'd
that?
be a quarter-mile index, and it would
Well,
be,
index on a quarter mile is 990.
yeah, on the super gas.
Right.
Super street is
1090 on a
1090.
quarter mile.
You're right, you got it.
Scribner was
Forget him with numbers.
1107,
Forget
I
him with
think,
numbers.
because I ran super street. So
There's
That's
no-
awesome.
1107, 5,
You
something
know,
like that.
let's put it like this. In terms for the radio listeners, you have to have a license at the 8th mile at 639. Okay, you have to have a license for NHRA. You have to have cages, certification, fire suit, fire suppression. Okay, so he's about a second quicker than that, and that's unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, Phil, best of luck to you up in Onawa. Can't wait to see you up there running whenever you get up there.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate having you on. Jimmy, always love having you.
Thank you very much. You guys know I love being on.
We'll talk soon. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
This May, experience the suspense as heroes clash metal to metal with heartbreak. Get lost in a drama without the predictable ending. No sappy romance, no special effects. Just one adrenaline-filled night where pure speed drives the plot. Coming soon to a track near you. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series night race. Only at Kansas Speedway May 12th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Turn 3 brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway are available now. Call 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com. It's exciting to hear that KC Masterpiece has joined Kansas Speedway to partner up for the spring race. The day before Mother's Day, it's coming up. You guys, listen, we've been talking about it for about 2 months now, about all the great things you get to experience when you go down to Kansas Speedway. Yeah, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but it's a good way of getting away early in the year and kind of relaxing. Head down Thursday after work, take Friday off, get yourself a nice camping spot, buy yourself a couple of grandstand tickets, whatever you've got to do. Get yourself a hotel, maybe 20, 30 minutes away. Once you get outside that 30-minute drive time from the Speedway, hotels really become reasonable, back down around the $100, $150 range a night. But KansasSpeedway.com, get your weekend passes, get your single race tickets, and don't forget that kids 12 and under will get into Friday night's Camping World Truck Series race for absolutely free, and they also get in for a discounted price for Saturday's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race, the KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway. Do yourself a favor. People complain about the way NASCAR looks on TV, and I completely understand it, and you will understand it too when you go down to Kansas City for the KC Masterpiece 400 on Saturday night, May 12th, this coming Saturday night for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. It is something you cannot replicate on TV. The roar, the smell, the sights, the sound, the fans, the friends you'll meet, you can't beat it when you go down live and watch the races at Kansas Speedway. Again, KansasSpeedway.com or 866-460-RACE for the KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway. Well, a few weeks ago, Dirk and I got to sit down with several drivers at the Precise Racing Products open house. One of those drivers is joining us now on the show, and that's Tracy Weber, who scored one heck of a deal on some sheet metal.
Yeah, they think they got a really good price on it for today, anyhow.
Yeah,
there's no throat cutting in that business, but good price. So I might have to pick up a sheet or two.
Yeah, it's safe to say that you'll need it. I mean, racing a sport mod,
right?
You're gonna need it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
well, and a new body color with that nice new
my Ronald
Memorial
McDonald
paint scheme.
look. Yeah. 2017, tough year?
No, not tough. Just I started late, didn't have any ambition. went and helped hobby stock guys over in Harlan. It's like, I can't watch anymore. Okay, I'll put the car together.
But getting the start on 18, right?
Yeah, getting a slow start. This weather obviously doesn't help.
Yeah.
Kind of get cabin fever, go out in the garage, look at the car. Yep, still here.
Still
go back inside.
Your 60,000 square foot shop isn't heated?
Who are you talking to again?
We don't all have 60,000 square foot heated shops?
Maybe
I thought we
60
did.
square feet, but not 60,000.
So what are you planned for Racing Weekly at?
We're going to start out at I-80. I've got a tribute car scheme going for my good friend Don Moore that passed away.
Yeah.
His nephew Tyler Ringle's going to do a wrap for me. We're putting 24 in the car this year.
Okay.
So it'll look somewhat like Donnie's car.
But a mod, not a
not a stock car, yeah. Started out with yellow. I was going to go with yellow just to change up because that's the way I do things. And then Donnie passed away and the light went on in my head. And because there's a lot of room up there, so it'd be a really bright light.
It's like a lighthouse,
right? Pretty much. Get it coming all the orifices. So anyhow,
if you look close, you can see the light going through his eyes.
Correct, just like
out
that
his ears.
cat in that cartoon. So I got with Tyler Ringle. He's going to do a wrap for me, pretty simple, with Don's last scheme on his Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
So we're going to put that on there.
Good guy. I'm going to miss Don.
Oh, geez. It's always good to see him. He's 1 minute to the next, he's got different emotions. So it was kind of fun.
You were the 67, right?
62.
62, okay.
T.
And I think the last time I saw your car, it was black and white, but you're kind of changing it up.
Yeah, it's been kind of black and white for the last 3 years.
Okay.
That's about as much as I can get out of the old body. So, yeah, it was pretty ugly, black and white with orange and purple numbers. So
that the Don Moore tribute car, you're going to race that all the year, or maybe change it up as the year goes on?
Well, I'm going to, like I say, I started out at 80 for maybe a few weeks and then probably progress. I'll race over to Harlan probably most of the time because I like that track. Okay. Not saying I don't like I-80, just there's some kind of a curse on me over there.
Yeah.
Well, you also got the scheduling difference with Friday and Saturday night,
sure.
too. You got all day Saturday to work on the car. And
I get off of work at 2:30 most days and come home, and when it's nice, get in the garage, work on the car because it's what I do. So, but just, it gets a little expensive, obviously. So we're kind of toning it down to the farewell tour eventually. So,
yeah. Oh, no. That word, huh?
Yeah, it gets rough. So what
do? It gets, but it's still fun though, right?
Oh yeah, it's fun. The work during the week, you think, God, why am I doing this? And then you get out on the track, and you forget about everything. You're just out there racing. So it's always a good time being in the car.
Well, good. So you're gonna start off at I-80, probably race weekly at Harlan. We'll obviously probably see you out of Charlie Clark for the Don Moore tribute.
Yep, I'll be out there for sure. So in the foreseeable future, depending on what happens between now and then.
I'm trying to think if B-mods are on the bill for that race, but I don't think they are. But we'll be out there.
They might not be.
We'll be out there in person.
Oh yeah,
racing, watching that race. But any other races you're planning on hitting? Some specials, anything like that?
Really, I haven't looked at any schedules.
Okay.
Maybe the Speedy Bill, Cornhusker, maybe at the end of the year.
If
as
there's
much
any car
as I can.
left.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all anybody ever says. If a car's left, I'll be there.
I got the old the Webinator sitting alongside the house, but it needs updated to the new IMCA rules yet.
Yeah.
So that's
any Eagle plans?
No
Crawford
Eagle.
County, Adams County.
No, just basically the two tracks.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to go, maybe try Denison again. I used to race there years ago when they'd opened back up.
Yeah.
And had a good time there, but I guess they've shortened the track since then and stuff. So.
Well, it's because I think they've shortened it now a third time.
Really?
So because they reopened it in 2012 in the shortest version, and I that was my first 2 years of getting into announcing, was working down there.
I see.
And it's from everybody says it's a good track. It's a fun track, and it was fun to always call races down there.
Sure.
So.
It was fun back in, gosh, what year was that? I think it was 1989 or 1990 when they opened back up. But yeah, that big, I think it was half mile back then. Jeez.
It was an engine eater.
Oh, it was fun though.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, you definitely need another gear though if you're going to go up there.
Definitely. So, but off the top of my head, just it's going to be I-80 and Harlan. So
you'll see him in the 24 this year as opposed to the 62T for the most part. You'll see him in the 24 to start off with, and then maybe switch over to the 62T and continue. Is that 62? You going to continue with the yellow scheme or?
Not sure yet.
We'll see when you decide.
the body on the old car is still in great shape.
Yeah.
So
that's a win right there.
White and black, and I had a couple parts donated to me from Dan Klein last year when I was putting it back together. So it's kind of a coat of many colors kind of car. It's
A little Frankenstein deal going on
a little
there?
bit. I like to change things up. I like to be different.
As long as it passes tech, that's all that matters.
Passes tech.
What's that mean?
That's
What's
it.
that mean?
That's it. Correct.
We'll see.
So, see what happens.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 4, and we'll give you a chance to win 6 tickets to the May 18th Driver Appreciation Night at I-80 Speedway, courtesy of Tracy Weber. All you have to do is get ready to call 402-573-0590. 402-573-0590 and answer the question that we're going to ask you when we come back from the break. Also in turn 4, we'll preview today's race at Dover by recapping the 2017 results, and we'll preview Saturday night's KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway by reviewing the results from 2017 and talking about a couple of the finer points for picking the winning driver for the Pick'ems contest presented by Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
The NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series, the world's fastest motorsport, is returning to Topeka.
339 miles an hour.
NHRA's best top-fuel dragster and funny car drivers are ready to face off at the Menards NHRA Heartland Nationals, May 18th through 20th. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission, and every ticket's on Pit Pass. So bring the family, meet the drivers, and be part of the action. Get tickets early and save at NHRA.com or call 800-884-NHRA.
For almost 70 years, Sarah Kelly Sewell have been Nebraska's premier personal injury firm. Race drivers, fans, and their families have been calling Sunset Speedway's Craig Kelly for over 30 years. The IKS firm focuses first on your healing and appropriate medical care, then they focus on getting you great results. Craig Kelly and his experienced team at IKS stand ready to handle your injury claims in both Nebraska and Iowa. If you or a loved one have been injured, Google Craig Kelly or call him at 402-391-4000.
This May, experience the suspense as heroes clash metal to metal with heartbreak. Get lost in a drama without the predictable ending. No sappy romance, no special effects. Just one adrenaline-filled night where pure speed drives the plot. Coming soon to a track near you. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Night Race. Only at Kansas Speedway May 12th. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Turn number 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. This week's classic car and bike night didn't fare very well as we got all those storms on Wednesday and Thursday, but needless to say, they will be back at it next Wednesday and this coming Thursday and this coming Wednesday and this coming Thursday. Wednesday is bike night and Thursday is classic car cruising. Both nights, $2 Busch Lights and $3 aluminum 16-ounce beers, Bud Lights, Coors Light, and Michelob Ultra. So make sure you head down for both of those or either of those, as it's going to be an amazing time with beautiful bikes on Wednesday, gorgeous classic cars on Thursday. I want to say a big thank you to Phil Bremkin for joining us in turn number 2 and to Tracy Weber for joining us in turn number 3. That takes me to our trivia question. You can win a 6-pack of Driver Appreciation Night tickets to I-80 Speedway. And let me give you a little bit of a secret. That race, May 18th at I-80 Speedway, with all the tickets that are given out, the grandstands are packed first off, and the drivers get up on the wheel just a little bit more because Tracy Weber, Ryan Jenkins, Jacob Hobscheit, Jacob Brown, these guys drive just a little bit harder because they want to win in front of their 50, 60, 70 fans that they brought out. This is a good night to come out to I-80 Speedway.
But do yourself a favor and go early.
Yeah.
Last year, when they ran Fan Appreciation Night, the races started at 7:15. At 8 o'clock, there was still a line trying to get off the interstate to get to the Speedway. Take a hint. Go out a little early.
It's a Friday.
It's crazy.
Take half a a day. Get out to the racetrack at 4:30. Gates open up at 5 o'clock. You'll be just fine. But if you wait until the last minute to go out and you decide, okay, we'll go, you're going to wait on the interstate, you're going to wait in the parking lot, and you're going to wait to get into the grandstand. So do yourself a favor. You're absolutely right, Dirk. Get there early.
Stop at Casey's, grab a pizza, get out to the track, pizza and a six-pack pop, beer, or your favorite beverage, and have a little picnic out on the trunk, little tailgating, and, or go inside the track and get a delicious pork tenderloin.
Those tenderloins. I'm fairly certain they put some sort of an addictive chemical in there because I get cravings. They're freaking good.
I think inside the breading, I think they put bacon.
You think so?
I think that's what it is.
I'll have to taste for that next time. Definitely going to be getting me one on that night.
Yeah, I put a little mustard on there, a few onions, little pickles. Oh, yeah. Got to dress them up.
Dirk, it's like 8:45 in the morning, and I'm hungry now. I want a pork tenderloin, and I can't get one for another 6 days. All right, here's your trivia question to win a 6-pack of tickets for Driver Appreciation Night at I-80 Speedway on May 18th. What car number does Tracy drive this year? Simple number. It's not the number he's typically driven, so don't call up with the number 62.
Or 62T.
Right. What car number is Tracy driving this year? 402-573-0590. What car number is Tracy Weber, sport mod driver in the area, driving this year? 402-573-0590. We got a couple of tracks we need to cover, Dirk, before we get to today's race and before we get to next weekend's show. So let's start off with this race last year for Dover International Raceway. It's been rebranded as Dover Raceway. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., rough day for him, finished 39th. Brad Keselowski 38th. Kurt Busch 37th. Paul Menard 33rd. Ryan Blaney 32nd. Clint Boyer 31st. Joey Logano 25th. And this was during his struggles. After he got pinned at Richmond early in the year of 2017. He didn't see outside the top 20 for very long. But good days for Danica Patrick, who finished in the top 10. She finished in that 10th spot. Kevin Harvick 9th. Denny Hamlin 8th. Jamie McMurray 7th. Daniel Suarez 6th. Chase Elliott with the top 5. Ryan Newman 4th. Martin Truex Jr. 3rd. Larson finished 2nd with Jimmy Johnson getting the win on the day. Johnson finished 5th in Stage 1. 2nd in Stage 2. Led just 7 laps and ended up winning the race. The big leader of the day was Kyle Larson, finishing 2nd in Stage 1. 5th in Stage 2, leading 241 laps. And when I say he was the big leader of the day, I was referring to the number of laps led. Next was Martin Truex Jr. with 102.
And if I remember correctly, I think Jimmy Johnson had to do something after qualifying and went to the back and won this race from the back, because I think that's the weekend I was doing the Gambler 500. And I called you from somewhere in Kansas where I had a signal on my phone and told you who put my pick in for me. And then you had texted me back, but I didn't get it until the race was like 3/4 over that Johnson had to go to the rear.
I remember that now.
And of course, I didn't know it until even later that he'd won the race. So.
And came back from all the way back and it's on the official sheets. He was credited with starting 14th, but ended up getting the win. But he ended up going to the back of the. I remember
one of them unapproved adjustments or something.
Yeah, not passing tech inspection. Pick a litany of what those guys got in trouble for last year and are already starting this year. So big day for Jimmy Johnson winning the early race last year. Let's look at the later race in the fall of last year. This race was ran October 1st at Dover Raceway. And some of the rough days, not a lot of your playoff contenders finished outside of the top 15. Ryan Blaney was one of them in 23rd. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 19th. Kevin Harvick 17th. But your big leader of the day, the race leader, Chase Elliott, led 138 laps 3 different times, finished 7th in Stage 1, 3rd in Stage 2. Next was Kyle Larson, who finished 137, or who led 137 laps, 6th in Stage 1, 1 Stage 2. But the winner on the day was Kyle Busch. Your top 10 for that race, Brad Keselowski was in 10th, Jamie McMurray 9th. Daniel Suarez, 8th. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 7th. Clint Boyer, 6th. Kyle Larson, after leading 137 laps, came home in 5th. Martin Truex Jr. led 51 laps, finished 4th. Jimmy Johnson finished 3rd. Chase Elliott led 137 laps, finished 2nd. And your race leader, or your race winner, led just 4 times for 30 total laps. That's Kyle Busch getting the win on the day and punching his ticket into the next round. So, looks like Johnson, Elliott, Truex, good picks for the day. It'd be a little bit concerning if I was to consider some of these other guys that finished had rough finishes earlier in the year.
Well, Suarez was top 10 both races, so there's somebody else you can take a look at if you want to kind of go off playoff grid, so to speak. It sounds like he gets around the place. I mean, last year was a rookie here and 2 top 10s at Dover. That's fairly impressive, actually.
And he did really well when he would go back to the track a second time. He would usually finish just outside the top 10 the first time he went to it, and then he would usually get a good top 10 finish the second time he went there. So he might be a good one to go to. It looks like he had a handle on this car from the get-go, and then he was able to get 2 top 10 finishes both times he went to Dover last year.
Jamie Mack, again, a little bit off playoff grid, but 2 top 10s there last year. Of course, Chase Elliott, 2 top 10s, still looking for his first win. So, I mean, if you look at practice reports and he's up towards front or qualifies in the top 5 or something, he's somebody you got to take a look at for the race. He likes the track.
So that's Dover today. The race coverage is on FS1 and MRN at noon, with the green flag set to wave at about 1 o'clock, which means all of your picks are due by 1 o'clock. Please don't wait till the last minute.
Well, is that 1 o'clock Eastern time that they're going to start, I do believe?
I have 1 o'clock on my schedule, but Lord knows already this year I've been wrong plenty of times. So do yourself a favor, get it in before noon. Let's just play it safe with that bit. You just got to get it in before noon on Sunday. And again, coverage is on FS1 and MRN. You can catch all the action for today's race. AAA 400 Drive for Autism at Dover on the big screens at the official watering hole of the Front Stretch Quaker Steak and Lube. Moving on to Saturday night's race, the KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway. This race last year, Martin Truex Jr. he dominated this race. I remember he was so strong all day long. Second stage 1, third stage 2, led 104 laps, led the most laps of anybody, ended up getting the win on the day. Bad days for Ryan Newman, who finished 40th. Eric Almirola, 38th. That was when he was involved in that big wreck, wasn't it? The spring race?
Yes.
Him and Danica Patrick got together. Joey Logano was involved in that too. Eric took that wild ride in the back of the car, slammed down on the speedway and hurt his back.
Yep.
Respectively, Eric Almirola 38th, Joey Logano 37th, Danica Patrick 36th. Those were the 3 cars that were involved in that big accident. Long red flag, too. Chase Elliott finished 29th, Jimmy Johnson 24th, Denny Hamlin 23rd, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 20th, Kurt Busch 19th. So those are some of the guys that finished outside the top 15 for the spring race at Kansas last year. Top 10 finishes, Trevor Bayne came home in that 10th spot. Clint Boyer 9th, Jamie McMurray 8th, Daniel Suarez 7th. Kyle Larson finished 6th, Kyle Busch 5th, Ryan Blaney 4th, Kevin Harvick 3rd, Brad Keselowski runner-up, and Martin Truex Jr., like I mentioned, getting the win on the day, leading 104 laps.
Well, Martin Truex won both Kansas Speedway races last year, and if I remember right, the year before in the fall race, I don't remember the year before, if it was the spring race or the fall race, where he had the lug nut catch behind the wheel and cost him the race on the pit stop.
I think it was the fall race.
Because he'd have won 3 races in a row there, which, nobody's done that yet. And even if it was the spring race and he won 3 out of 4, that's still definitely somebody you got to take a look at that speedway.
Kansas is a tough track that if this goes long green flag runs, which it's done plenty of times in the past, it's kind of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of a thing. You'll have these races where it will go long green flag runs and you'll end up with only 10, 15 cars on the lead lap. But then you'll have races where tires they do something, if it's the teams, if it's Goodyear, whoever it is doing the issues, they'll push the limits a little bit too much and we'll have a bunch of blown tires and we'll have cautions every 25, 30, 40 laps. And those are the little bit more exciting races.
Well, usually it's the teams doing that. And,
No.
And one guy.
No.
One guy that's finally getting Kansas figured out is Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch at several of these races at Kansas Speedway, he'd be 3 laps in and he'd just slam the wall all by himself because, he goes, I'm tired today. I don't want to race the car, so I'm just going to hit the wall.
Yeah.
But the last couple of years, it seems like he's won a race there now, and kind of getting things lined up track. He's always fast everywhere else. Why, and he'd shake his head. I don't know why I can't get around.
He had no
here.
idea how to figure that track out. It was a conundrum to him. Could not figure out how to. And it was the weirdest thing. Dirk, we'd watch him come out of turn 2 all on his own, no cars around him, and he'd loop that thing around.
Yep.
For somebody of his talent, somebody that's that talented to be up in the Cup Series, to spin on their own is a pretty rare thing. For somebody like Kyle Busch to do it, I mean, generally when that would happen, you would think he got help.
And I mean, a lot of these drivers even rate this as the toughest 1.5 mile track on the circuit.
It's so fast. fast.
Well, you look at Charlotte, you look at Atlanta, you look at Texas, they're all the same track.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, outside of the turn being a few foot different on each one. But then you throw your other mile and a half in, Vegas, Kansas, and Chicago, and they are all totally different. But, you know, Chicago really didn't have much of a back straightaway, and, you know, it's not straight on the front. And Kansas has a pretty decent back straightaway, but definitely not straight on the front.
And you'll see them dip down a little bit to that apron, which is perfectly legal to do along the front stretch. They'll try to extend the track out just a little bit and get a little bit extra run going into the corner.
Well, they're trying to make front straightaway straight.
Sure. Yeah,
you know, the quickest way between point A and point B is a straight line.
Yep.
And you know, they do the same thing at Michigan. You know, they'll run down on the apron. They'll do it at Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you really don't see it as much at Texas and Atlanta just because of the way the track's designed just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to the fall October race at Kansas Speedway, the Hollywood Casino 400. This was the fall 2017 race. Our friends Starcom Racing premiered their car, their 00 car driven by Derek Cope, at this race in 2017. They ended up finishing last on the day, finishing 35 laps.
They ran a fuel set.
They had some issues, and listen, it was all about experiment, finding out what they had in their car and not spending too much money. I mean,
not breaking anything.
Right. So 40th on the day for Derek Cope. Kyle Larson ended up finishing 39th. Matt Kenseth, who is going to be debuting his 2018 season in that 6-car for Roush Fenway Racing, finished 37th in the 37th in the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing car at the fall race last year. Eric Jones, 35th. Daniel Suarez, 36th. Jimmy McMurray, 34th. Ryan Newman, 33rd. Man, there's a lot of big names outside the top 30. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who I always like to take at Kansas, is finished 29th. Joey Logano, 21st. Clint Boyer, 19th. Your top 10 finishes, Kyle Busch in that 10th spot. After leading 112 laps, I believe he had an issue on pit road. Eric Almirola finished 9th. Kevin Harvick finished 8th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 7th. Chris Buescher in the 6th spot. Denny Hamlin in 5th. Chase Elliott 4th. Ryan Newman 3rd. Kurt Busch in 2nd. And Martin Truex Jr., like Dirk talked about earlier, went into the race leading 91 laps on the day. 2 different times. Finished 8th in Stage 1, outside the top 10 in Stage 2. Only took home 43 points on the day.
Yeah, again, it was a good race. I do believe was a race that sealed Kyle Larson's fate.
Yeah.
You know, and
did he blow an engine?
Yeah.
I believe he blew an engine, right?
Yeah, he blew up, but he would have still moved up to the next round if Jimmy Johnson would have finished. I think Jimmy Johnson, he did real good the first 2 stages, but then had some issues later in the race. I remember him being out in the grass once, but he had to, Jimmy Johnson had to finish like 18th or better.
Yeah.
And if he would have dropped, and had another issue and maybe dropped off the lead lap, basically, then Kyle Larson still would have moved up, even with the bad run he had.
I want to say he got eliminated by 3, 4, maybe 5 points. It wasn't much at all.
Well, it ended up being the difference. Jimmy Johnson ended up 11th, and like I said, he had to, if he would have finished like 18th or worse, so about 6 points.
All right, all the action for today's race at Dover on the big screens of Quaker Steak and Lube. If you're not headed down to the KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway this coming Saturday night, then you can catch all the action on the big screens of Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Dirk and I will be live down at Kansas Speedway next weekend. We'll definitely get an interview with, we're hoping it will be Landon Castle, the driver for Starcom Racing in the 00 car. We don't know yet. We'll find out probably tomorrow or Tuesday who's going to be piloting that car, but nonetheless, we're going to get an interview with that driver and talk about their season and probably talk to one of the team members, probably even Derek Cope, about what's going on with Starcom. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Like we said, we'll be live next weekend at Kansas. We'll be live the next Sunday morning to recap the race at Kansas.
Hopefully autograph hunting will be good at Kansas.
Oh, yeah. Our autograph pile needs to be restocked. We're getting a little thin now, but
I think I've got it figured out. The last 2 trips down there, I've done pretty well.
Yeah, we've done some good stuff. So we'll be down in Kansas. We'll be live to recap that, and we'll also be giving away tickets for the NHRA Heartland Nationals. It'll be our final set of tickets before that race weekend, 2 weekends from now, May 18th, 19th, and 20th at Heartland Park, Topeka, for the NHRA Heartland Nationals presented by Minties. So much to go on next weekend's show. Please do join us, and thank you for listening this weekend. We'll do it all again next weekend live from Kansas Speedway. This has been The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN
Every
Radio.
race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Soon the flowers will be blooming, and we'll all be busy enjoying the beautiful Midwest spring. With the arrival of spring, we all know ridiculous summer heat is just around the corner. A simple preventative maintenance plan from Eccles Heating and Cooling can make sure you're as cool as a cucumber during the hot summer months. Call Pat today for your preventative maintenance plan, or ask about a new energy-efficient Tempstar HVAC. Eccles Heating and Cooling is there for you at 402-331-1755.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.